Where does kindness begin?
Where does kindness begin? Today is Chaim. Today is Tetvav Tevet, December 27th, Wednesday.
Yes.
Today's class was sponsored by the Aharon and the Goldsmith families. Leilui Nishmat Golan Ben Shalom Mazal.
Wow.
And
Baruch Yitzhak Ben Masha, Lahavdu Ben Chaim L'Chaim, he should have Shmir Eliona, as well as all of our soldiers should have heavenly protection.
Amen.
He's going back into Gaza, and we need more and more tefillahs and more and more kindness to bring only good news.
Amen. Amen. I'm
just going to double check one more time that we're good. Everyone, by the way, we will have someone to run this at some point, so do have some mercy on our setup. But it's going to get better and better as time goes on.
So before we get into the actual discussion of what we're going to talk about, we decided that we're going to sing a little nigun.
Thank you for reminding me.
I believe it's called the Anapoli nigun.
Anapoli.
That was written by Rav Shlomo Katz a couple of years ago when he took Chevra to
Anapoli.
Right?
To Europe. Yeah, let's go. Mochim Kedoshim. Mochim Kedoshim. Wow, got a lot of dancing around the chadodis in that nigun.
Okay, so today it's where does Chesed begin? Eli, where does it begin, Eli?
I think we should begin with you because, as we mentioned in the previous wonderful session podcast, we got a lot of good feedback. Thank God, we appreciate it. I think we began with the story how you opened up your home, and that helped my family and many others and many other individuals as well get a lot of inspiration that led to this podcast being a reality, that I'm living here and that you're with Just One Chesed and my Unity projects are going ahead, thank God, in Efrat and beyond. And this, so therefore, let's
So this is actually a question that was asked of me personally. I'm going to embarrass her and say her name, Nechama Hirsch, who Mazel Tov to you.
Wow.
Just got married 2 days ago.
Wow.
Mazel Tov.
Wow, she's really going to need to know this question.
Well, she asked, where does really begin? What if you're not able to do it? So I think the question that really needs to be asked is, why are you doing the Chesed?
Oh.
Right? So is it because, and this I owe ultimately to my Eshet Chayil, who broke it down for me.
Lillians.
Always the Lillians. Why are we doing Chesed? Are we doing Chesed because we want Dveikut to the Borei Olam? Or are we doing it because out of a fear or lack of something? And it's a serious thing, right? Like, it's not to say that you shouldn't do the Chesed if there is fear or lack. But why are you really doing it?
It's interesting because that came up today's session with Eitan Katz, and Shlomo Katz is in the shul, like, is it Lishma, lo Lishma? Similar kind of kavun, are you doing it for the right reasons or not? With the learning and the growth. And so Chesed also, I mean, it began obviously in the right way in the world. Hashem built, as you mentioned last time.
Well, no, Hashem actually built the world, right?
Well, the pasuk in Psalm says
Elokim, right? So the world was built with Midat Adin.
Yeah, but it's Mishtatet with Midas Harachamim. He joined it later with Midas Harachamim, with mercy. But nevertheless, in Psalms, you mentioned last time, Tehillim, David HaMelech, that the Olam Yiboneh,
Olam Chesed Yiboneh.
Chesed Yiboneh, Hashem built the world of Chesed.
So that's the question you need to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Why are you doing the chesed? And that's going to determine whether you're able to do it, whether you're able to do it or not. Because at the end of the day, chesed really begins with oneself. And if you're not able to do it, and it's kind of a whole, emunah and ishtadlut thing, right? Where does your emunah and bitachon stop and your ishtadlut begin? So it's very, very similar in that sense, where if you're not able to do it, or if there's stress that's leading from what you're going to be doing as a chesed, or if the person you're going to be doing the chesed for is or there's toxicity in that realm, then, like we mentioned last time, one of the greatest cheseds is knowing when to say no.
Yeah, that balance.
And I mentioned it last time, and I'll say it again. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've unfortunately had to say no to people since the last podcast. I've had to say no to people
within 1 week. Amazing.
Because it's just not our derech. I'm saying, when I say our derech, it's not what just one chesed does. Now again, if there is an ability to help, we will help.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still waiting on this Unity Song project. It's very much about patience, all the different pieces to come together. And, that's the balance, It's not going to just be, the money's there and everything just goes and we can just pour out budget endlessly on all these things. And another example would be a question on the army, like how can't they get all these resources from the government? Where's the bottleneck? What's happened to the budgeting of Medinas Israel that they can't just bankroll this whole war? Why
I believe that's a whole podcast in and of itself.
That's true. But one of the things, that's a question people ask. So either way, what's so beautiful about Just One Chesed is they don't even ask such questions, and they just seem to just fill that space as well as all the other kind-hearted.
Because we're able
Jews.
to, right?
Yeah.
Because we're able to, and it's not just us.
Yeah.
Again, there are a tremendous amount of organizations out there that are doing unbelievable work.
Yeah.
Mamash, helping displaced families, helping the soldiers in whatever capacity they can. I have a friend who came in from America, landed yesterday, and again, Ashkacha Pratit, absolutely. He wanted to specifically go to 3 or 4 individual families. He wanted to buy toys for kids whose parents or father are in a war, they haven't seen him, whatever.
Wow.
He called me, he's like, have you found anyone? I'm like, I'm so sorry, I haven't. Literally 10 minutes later, I'm not even joking,
Wow.
I get a phone call from a chayal saying, hi, I got your number from somebody who's telling me that you guys, Just One Chesed, you have a command center, you might be able to help us with some tziyud. So I started talking to him, asking him questions. He's like, yeah, we're from Kiryat Shmone. My wife was in a hotel with my 4 kids for a while, but it was so hard. Yeah. So they moved into her parents' place. They're in Yerushalayim. I haven't seen my kids in a month and a half. I was like, oh my God, I just got a phone call from a buddy of mine. I connected the two, and Bezat Hashem, he's going to go buy some toys for his kid and drop it off today.
Unbelievable.
Chesed. But again...
But where does it begin? Because we have to go back to the beginning, like all of us. I mean, I know my Judaism, my spirituality, if there wasn't people opening their home to me initially when I came to Israel, not just in a frat with you, but the whole journey I had when I was 18, 19, and I was staying in the Heritage House, which itself was a chesed. We were famous Mayor Schuster opened up that place with, all the other great people over there. And, Oliver Shalom for Mayor Schuster, but for the rest, they were, Baruch Hashem, they should keep going strong. But that whole idea of kindness when I came to Israel, I had a place to stay. And then I had endless hosts, opportunity, and that chesed that Am Yisrael did for people like myself who came. I don't mind saying, with earrings and long hair. I wasn't really like the mold of the Haredi or the religious, looking person. I was coming, with sleeveless vest and from a different world, like visually and hashkafically and in all the different ways. And they opened their home to me and fed me and opened the Heritage and opened Osameach and Eisha Torah and Chabad and all the different people that did chesed for me, all the organizations. And that allowed me to choose this lifestyle because I now had access to it. And so really my whole journey in Judaism began with chesed.
But it starts with yourself when you're going to do the chesed.
Sure, I did choose to come here. Yeah,
right?
I did.
So it starts with you. You did a chesed for yourself by coming here, by going to these places. Because you were able to, and then it stems from yourself to your family.
Yeah, the family enabled me to
the home. The Lillians. Mikey and Nate, Baruch Hashem,
Yeah.
it starts with yourself being able to give, and then to be able to give out to the family. And by the way, receiving just as important, if not more important.
Oh, that's so important.
Than giving, right? Because
Rabbi
Nachman says that the one who actually receives the chesed is doing a greater chesed than the one who's giving, because he allows the one who's giving to give.
And then that would be very fitting for the one who asked the question about marriage. I mean, she's getting married. Or is married. So the idea of mashpia makabel, there's someone who's giving and there's someone who's receiving, but they're both as important in this relationship, husband and wife, male and female, sun to moon. They both have to be able to give the light, to receive the light. It works together. It can't be one is only giving and there's no, or both are trying to give,
right?
But there's no makabel. It has to be receiving as well.
Something that I struggle with the receiving, but I noticed how many times someone tried to give, whether it's a compliment or just to give chizuk or whatever it may be, and I wasn't able to receive it, or I didn't want to receive it, or whatever it may be. It's important for me to work on that as well, and really try to be able to accept chesed when people give it to you, not just be the one who's
I have no problem with that. That's what's the good contrast. You can ask my wife. We have a relationship flow podcast, shout out, and over there, like you can see again and again, I just want to give, I want to receive, I want to give, mashpia makabel, I'll do all of it. But my wife is very like yourself, like it's like in my opinion, I have tremendous respect for these kind of neshamas who they don't want to take and they constantly want to give, but there's going to come.
But that's not necessarily the proper way.
I still have a lot of respect for it because it's a level. They're not looking to take, they're looking to give. And my own Rebbe, the Talmud Rebbe, used to stand up for my wife, and you haven't seen him for a while, but when we last saw him, stand up for my Rebbe because he saw that she was that kind of neshama. It was the Shem Shemaim. It wasn't like she's coming to take; she's coming to give, and that's a level. You have to respect that level, but learn now how to go out of what's natural to receive as well, and that I respect both ways. And me personally, I don't have that problem. So anyone wants to give, I'm all here for it. You want to give me praise, you want to send me presents, I'm up for it. Just don't tell my wife I said this, please.
So Lillian is actually very much like you. She has that she has that balance. Yeah. She's able to receive and to give, and she does both with amazing grace. Baruch Hashem.
Yeah. So we have to. That's also another thing. It does come down to personalities and midot. Different. We have to realize everyone has different place on the kavim of in terms of the kav of chesed, of kindness. Some people are more attuned to kindness. Some people are more attuned to gevura, to be able to say no. Some people are more in the middle, balance, rachamim.
But being able to say no and having the gevura is in and of itself a midah of chesed.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that we have to understand on this podcast. We're going to explore questions that you bring to us, and we're going to understand that, thank God, we have a foundation. We're not always going to be able to go into therapy questions that we'll save for the therapist, but in terms of basic balance and boundaries and sensible common sense based on the learning we do together.
Boundaries, huge.
Yeah, boundaries is massive.
So important.
Yeah.
Because if you want to help and you're trying to help and you're finding yourself struggling because the person that you're helping
is being enabled. That's the big word.
Yeah. You're enabling an individual.
People even once said helping them. People once said about us, we're enabling you to not, like we were more in the kollel, like learning rabbi world, and they were like, if we don't let you be more independent, we're enabling you to constantly need, handouts rather than become independent financially. And it was painful to hear it from those people.
See, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. If you're sitting and learning in a kollel, though, that's part of the whole.
That's part when you get into hashkafic issues.
Yeah,
so there's different, outlooks of what Klal Yisrael should be doing. Working, learning, army, all these kind of things. Without getting into that whole discussion, the main point is that the enabling concept is brought up a lot, but it's often it takes a certain bina yasera, a certain deep intuition to work out if a person is toxic, or you're enabling them, or it's just you're having issues giving, which can also be the point. Meaning you just burnt out or whatever from the giving, and you have to now refill your kli, as my wife always says. You have to refill your vessel. That means to regroup. That means to take care of yourself. in some way or another.
And by the way, if you need a day,
you do that.
And if you
I respect
right,
that. Today you're going to the Koisa.
Yeah, I need to.
That's how you refill.
Yeah, that's how I recharge my batteries.
I mean, even there, you're praying for everyone. You're doing Chesed, and that's.
But the energy that I get from going there is a different animal. I actually was there last night.
Oh wow.
But
yes,
I went with some chayalim, whatever. It's very, very important to be able to say, okay, I'm taking these 5 hours for myself. I gotta do what I gotta do to recharge my batteries to be able to continue to do the chesed that I am able to do. Obviously, it includes tefillah, asking Kadosh Baruch Hu to continuously give you the koach and the desire to continue to want to do it. And I'm thankful to Kadosh Baruch Hu for him doing that every day.
You should have the koach, the chaim.
Amen.
And one of the things that right now, being a parent of a soldier and seeing his light. He was here, you saw it yourself. Yeah. And you see there's a certain light the soldiers are walking around with. God. And that gets rid of all the questions. Really, you just need to do, when you see these soldiers, you just want to have connection to their light. That they're so lishma, they're so for Hashem.
They're so holy.
They're so most nefesh.
And they don't even know it. Eli, I can't even begin to tell you. And that's one of my biggest issues with these chayalim, is that they don't realize how special they really are.
Right.
They listen, there are those that are in Gaza that are lochamim, there are those up north that are lochamim, and then there are those people who in Yudav Shimon who are doing what they're doing that people don't even know about.
We need that also.
That we won't talk about that. But then, you know what?
Yeah.
But then there are people who are sitting there and they're looking at the cameras all day. And then there's the Modi'in.
Right.
And then there are people who are in communications. Like if their earpieces aren't working and they can't relay the message or the sat phone or whatever it may be, every single one of those people that put on that uniform, Malachei Hasharei, hands down, and I said it last time, they're doing the ultimate chesed by ridding the world of the evil.
Right.
And because it really, really is the ultimate chesed that we can possibly do, not just for us as Jews.
I want to throw in, there's so much we could say on this, but I had the merit to sit with Rabbi Leo D for about an hour and a half in his house. Such a merit. Just this week, I was on it's been a long week already, Monday, I think. We sat together and he said that, in his opinion, like the soldiers right now, they're going to come out, they're going to be the new generation. Like they're going to bring such light and such inspiration to the Israeli business world and to the Israeli, society. And it's going to reach a whole new level of kindness and energy and light because of what the clarification they've gone through in this war, of the removal of our enemies. And he said, but the most important lesson is not only just for our own people, but the lesson it's going to teach the world how to deal with this kind of evil. The whole world are going to learn from Am Yisrael what to do with this growing evil that's, seems to be, consuming many locations around the world in a like obvious sense, in an open sense of the mass protests, etc. And it's going to teach them what to do when there's real evil, where people who really want to do damage. And that we have to realize that that's our light. Even though we'd rather be a light of love and kindness, which is what we are doing in this session, in this podcast, but the soldiers are teaching the world how to be a love of Gevurah, how to take away the negativity, the evil that exists.
And it's so critically important because it's not based on what society says chesed is. It's based on what the Torah says chesed is.
Yeah, that's the key.
And that's the ultimate key.
He said the same thing as that. And he said that's why the world's going to come hungry for Torah, because they're going to see it's the only way to clarify this. It's the only way to clarify this evil that's growing.
Because basically right now the world's moral spectrum is completely off kilter.
Yeah.
Without getting into the war and whatever it may be.
If we're talking about Islam, for example, if you go to any sensible Islamic person, they'll agree with this.
Correct.
Like any
religious non-radical.
Did you see the Zaka guy speaking? That was hell. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but he's a Muslim Zaka volunteer, and he was saying straight out, this has nothing to do with Islam. What these people want to do. It says you can't kill women and children, and the way they're behaving is he said is barbaric. It's nothing to do with any religion. People blaming it on religion. It's a false religion. It's complete shit.
It's radicalism. Yeah. Any radicalism is
the way they're taking it. Yeah.
It's not good in any religion.
Yeah.
it doesn't
And the
work.
Abrahamic
There
faith
needs to be
can
that
communicate.
balance.
We were doing great building a partnership, and there's potential after this, even during this, to continue that. But the Abrahamic faiths are there to bring light to the world. Abraham Avinu was all Abraham. He was light to everyone who came into his home, into his place. And like we said last week, we want to host. We're here to also, as you had, non-Jews have come to Eretz Israel, and you've shown them, and they can support, and they can partner, and they can be involved in this process just as much as Jews can. They have that opening. We're always providing that.
I've invited, the Rasar of the base here in Chatmar Etzion. He's a Druze guy.
Druzeim are amazing.
He's a Druze.
My son loves the Druzeim in the army. They're amazing.
That's Druze, Druze, not Jews, right? He's a Druze.
Druze.
And I've invited him to my house several times already.
Sure.
He was supposed to come one time, but whatever, it didn't work out.
They have a very strong value system.
Absolutely.
And they hate this evil just as much as we have to now.
Some of the top people in the IDF are Druze.
Sure.
It's really amazing.
It is amazing. It's an example that we are an inclusive people. And I think to get back to how do we begin, where does kindness begin? It really begins with knowing yourself, knowing your abilities, and wanting to do kindness, going in the ways of Aharon Avinu and Sarah Meinu, going in the ways of our forefathers and foremothers, matriarchs, patriarchs, realizing that we have it within us. It's a trait of a Jew to be chasod, ba'al chasodim, chasodim, rachmanim, bashanim. These are traits of Jews. So it's intrinsic to us to do kindness. It's not something which we have to externally learn about. It comes from within. That's another important point. With a lot of the ability to do kindness, it's part of our essence. And we have to tune more and more into that essential self and do that kindness.
That's right. And again, we said last time, it really doesn't have to be grandiose. It's mamash.
Just one chesed.
Smiling.
Just one kindness. It doesn't say 100 kindnesses.
Right?
One kindness.
Just so you know, the Israelis, they all laugh at me when I say just one chesed. רק אחד? תתחיל עם אחד, חבר. תתחיל עם אחד. Right? Just start with one. Just do one chesed. And you know what? It's even something that maybe we can suggest to people. You know what? Jot down 5 chasadim that you did over the course of the day.
I so believe in this thing. I've been talking about it in my own Unity Flow podcast, the idea of journaling. That's what got me through my hardest times. Writing down the good you do. Not the bad, the good. Focusing on the positive that you do daily. And there will often be acts of kindness, not just the mitzvahs and the learning and the other things you do. Acts of kindness. Write it down day after day. Give yourself a challenge. I'm sure they have this. I think Just One has some curriculum. Before this war started, they're very busy with spreading that whole academic curriculum.
Well, the Chesed, the Chesed.
Remember Jerry telling me.
Chesed Works program that we have for the kids and whatnot, and there is a tremendous amount. We've kind of shied away, not shied away, but we've been forced to deal with what's at hand. But we are trying to get back to a little bit sort of sense of normalcy by getting back to our normally scheduled programming.
And Jerry himself was introduced to when I first talked to him about Just One Chesed. That was the focus back then. A few months ago. It's been like a different world since. They say before. There's a new saying.
Pre-October, pre-Simchat Torah.
Yeah, or pre-October, December, whatever you want to say. Yeah. 2 different worlds, like BC, AC, after Corona. They're still dealing with that. Crazy. Anyway, look, everyone here should tune in. Is not just whatever. Like it's divine providence who connects with our flow. And we are appreciating you connecting. If you made it to this point of the podcast, that means you're like really committed and in, because I know there's so much going on online. Pulls you this way, pulls you that way. We will be very, very real about kindness, and it will help focus in on true kindness, on that it can have a longevity. That's another thing. We want it not just to begin, but how do you keep it going? And that's why we're saying it comes with balance, it comes with knowing yourself, constantly regrouping. And I think that Yosef Aharon is demonstrating it to us, and the Just One Chesed organization, that it can continue, and it has to constantly redefine and reconnect to its purpose, because it can get overly demanded from. And then I myself, as a unifier, like someone who's trying to bring all these unity neshamas and inspirational souls together, as we mentioned, all the different talent that could come and help inspire people to become more kind and more focused on truth. That's my gift as a soul with that purpose. And I think that everyone has their mission. It's just about being very real with themselves.
And I'd like to see how we can kind of take this the concept of kindness and tie it into emunah and bitachon.
Yeah,
and
how was your question? Yeah,
and how we can really just spread that, because at the end of the day, I was talking to someone after the shiur that we had that Eitan Katz gave us earlier, Chirat David. If I didn't have a little bit of emunah and bitachon in my life, with what's going on in the world, I can see how people are so filled with anxiety and freaking out about what's going to potentially happen, right? So I think part of taking care of yourself, and maybe that's how we could kind of lead into that, taking care of yourself, you being the core of the chesed, is working on your emunah and bitachon.
Sure.
Right? It's one of those things where, and there are different levels and different stages, and we can get into that and discuss it and see what we can do. But at the end of the day, you are key, because if you're not strong with yourself, it's going to be so much more difficult for you to be able to do what you'd like to do. And your strength ultimately comes from your emunah and bitachon in the Borei Olam.
Just important, but we are sitting in the Zera Shimshon base midrash. So we big shout out to the Zera Shimshon and the Charles Sakal and Sakal family. One of the beautiful things is every time we come in, we get to see Hashem Avaya right here in front of us. It gives us inspiration. We see the Zera Shimshon on the stender, and we see all these names of the soldiers, the Chatufim, all the hostages we keep having in mind, all their wonderful souls. It's amazing, all these lists. And he keeps us in front of his learning. Everyone who comes here, there's more names here I can see. Like constantly, there's a whole list of names on this sheet from the Zera Shimshon, all the different Yeshuas they're trying to bring. So we're open to doing that as well. You can send us names and we can dedicate this. And it's important that, this grows. It can't just stay on a little, our little sphere of influence. We want people who are listening. This is a call to action to share the
absolutely
episodes.
Share it on IG,
as they
share
say,
it on Insta, share it on YouTube,
share it on
Facebook.
Spotify. You can give it a rating, obviously 5, otherwise don't rate it. We don't need any of those negative feedback. If you want to give us any negative feedback, just DM me directly, but publicly only 5-star, only love.
But send us questions, send us comments, and we'll go ahead and we'll try to, if we can, discuss it in the next podcast.
Sure.
B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach.
Amen.
B'yachad im Hashem v'natzeach. Maybe we can talk about what nitzachon means
Next time, yeah.
What does nitzachon mean?
Being victorious, true victory.
Well, what's the
eternal victory?
What's the true victory here? Everyone's talking about Ada nitzachon b'yachad im Hashem v'natzeach. What does nitzachon really mean?
Yeah, so that will be our coming episode. Why not?
B'ezrat Hashem.
We'll talk about victory and what we hope kindness and real kindness will bring. Only love. Thank you, Yosef.
Thank you, man.
You can say that. Remember, we'll have someone here to do this all for us soon. It's just a matter of time. Great work. Keep sharing the love.
Where is the love? Where is the love?